What though the odds be great or small, old Notre Dame will win overall. Yes, sir. Yes, baby. We are going to play for a national championship. Congratulations, Notre Dame. Congratulations, you Irish fans. And I'm going to take a little sliver of credit myself. Starting this podcast, my goal was to be a little part of getting Notre Dame to win a national championship. Well, they're going to play for one. So there's still more work to do. There's still more work to do. We're not done. But we're headed to the national championship game in the very first ever expanded 12-team college football playoff. Welcome, everybody, to the show. My name's Danny. This is the D Irish Fan podcast, where I am not an Irish fan. I am D Irish fan. I was just talking to my dad. This isn't going to be long. This is not going to be a long video at all, but I was just talking to my dad, and he was, he watched this game with me tonight, and it's funny, the last game that he watched with me was the Northern Illinois game. And I remember we gave each other this look of disbelief, like what just happened specifically after Riley Leonard threw that interception that really essentially iced that game. And we gave ourselves this look of how's this happening. From that game afterwards, I should say from immediately after that game, if you would have told me we were going to be playing for the national championship, I would have said absolutely not. I would have said we can still make the playoff. I would have said we can, we can still maybe even make a run, win a playoff game. But there's no way that you would have convinced me that we would be playing for one. And it goes back. The reason why it goes back to what I said in my pregame podcast, my prediction podcast. Great teams, every great team in all of sports, college football, college basketball, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, have one thing in common, and that is resiliency. Every single one. You can't be a championship team without it. But this team has shown time and time and time again that they have what it takes to be on the field with anybody in the country. That they have what it takes to take you down to the end of the game and win it. For the first time in my lifetime, a Notre Dame football team can look their opponents in the eye and say, not today. For the first time. Games that I think about, and I mentioned this after we beat Georgia. Games that I think about. Devastating. Let's go back. One of the first games that I was really into. You when you're a kid, you follow a team, you watch a couple of games, you remember certain things. But one of the first games that I remember Notre Dame, and actually being engaged, who the players were, the scoring, time, and all that stuff, strategy, all that stuff, was the Florida State Game of the Century game back in 1993. That was the last team, I said in my previous podcast, that was the last team that was worthy of being called a national title contender, a true national title contender. And no disrespect to the 2012 teams and the 2018 teams and the 2020 teams, those teams that went to two playoffs respectively, and then a national title in 2012 and got beat. Those teams really never realistically had a shot at winning those games. They just didn't. And it has been since 1993. Since Notre Dame has had a team that can look their opponent in the eye, no matter who it is, and say we're going to beat you. We're going to do this, and that's this team. And it's not because they're full of 5 stars. It's not because they have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. It's not because they have a Heisman Trophy winning running back. It's not because they have first round draft picks all over the defense. I mean, they might end up having some, but. Not tonight. All their first round draft picks, potential anyway, were hurt. So That's not how they're winning. I'll say it again. You win one of three ways: 5-star talent, 5-star culture, or both. Notre Dame is doing it with 5-star culture, the culture that Marcus Freeman has cultivated. I go back to the 1993 season, the game right after that, Boston College, the devastation I felt watching Boston College, a decent team at the time, a ranked team, I think, beat us, but still a team we shouldn't have lost to. We win that game, we win a national championship. I go back to some of the more demoralizing games, like some of the games that you can remember where it just showed you how far behind the Notre Dame football program was to everybody else. I think of 2003 when Florida State came to Notre Dame and just threw all over the field. I think of 2002, that 10-3 Ty Willingham aberration, when we played USC and Carson Palmer literally won the Heisman Trophy off of us and obliterated us. I think of the entire 2007 season. I think of all of those games that were close, that we somehow were able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. You think of last year, Ohio State. And even the year before when we played at Ohio State, we probably didn't deserve to win that game, but we were at least in it. Louisville last year, Clemson last year. You think of Cincinnati in 2021, Oklahoma State in 2021. Some small sample size of all of these games where we either were blown off the field and didn't belong, or we got this close to tasting glory and it got taken away from us. And the last two games have been utterly unbelievable. How they have won them. Not the fact that they just have won them, but how they have done it. Resiliency, toughness. I don't know. Here, I will say this. You can call this a homer take all you want. I don't care. I firmly believe this. I have never seen a tougher football team. I've never seen a tougher football team. If those on the outside looking in can probably go to their own teams and say, well, this year that team was really tough, or this year this and that year, and that's fine, that's understandable. But anyone that follows this team, anybody that knows how hurt we've been all season, anybody that's been watching this podcast has because I've been talking about injuries all year. And the unbelievable, I mean, we had Charles Jagasaw, we lost all the way at the beginning of the year. The guy comes in tonight and it's blowing people up. I mean, he had a couple of plays where he didn't know what he was doing, but he held his own, man. He held his own. And I've been talking about injuries all season and how banged up we've been, and no Riley Mills and no Benjamin Morrison. And it has just been, it's been such a banged up team. I mean, everyone playing tonight has been hurt. We lost we probably lost Rocco Spindler for the national title game. I don't know. He went down, so that's why Jagasaw had to come in. We lost Anthony Knapp, and Tosh Baker had to come in. And I was talking to my buddy Brett. I think the line actually played better with those two guys, because we have a little beef now. We went from a left tackle that was 6'4", 291 to a left tackle that's 6'8", 320 pounds. We went from a right guard, well, Rocco Spindler's a pretty big guy, but he's not as athletic as Charles Jagasaw, that's for sure. So we upgraded in size and athleticism. And that's when we started moving the ball. That's when we started having success on offense. I don't think that's any coincidence. And you follow this team and how banged up they've been. We're now on third string guys who are banged up. I mean, I have never seen a tougher football team in my life. I'll say that about this team. Win, lose, or draw the national title game. Win, lose, or draw. I don't care if we get killed. This is the toughest football team I've ever seen, and I have no problem saying that. Quick shout out to some of the players of the game. I know that Riley Leonard got the media player of the game, offensive player of the game. Christian Gray got the defensive player of the game. But I got to tell you, I think the guy that really sparked the offense and really wanted it, and because this is the toughest team I've ever seen, and toughness is what actually defines this team. I got to say the player of the game is Jeremiah Love. That, please go back. Find it on YouTube. I don't care. Find it on the internet. Find that touchdown run that he made and save that and put it in your phone for all time. He wanted that touchdown. There was no one taking that touchdown away from him. He was going to take it. It was his. It belonged to him. And he took it. It was awesome. That was just absolute beast mode. And the reason why I give him the credit is because of how banged up he is. Most people don't know. I mean, if this were the regular season, he would not be playing. Plain and simple. He would not be playing. I don't know that he'd be, I mean, he wouldn't be an out for the year kind of injury. Obviously, he's playing. But if it were regular season play, he would not be playing. And because it's the playoffs, because it's big boy time, because it's shut up or go home, because it's toughness time, this is football, this is what it's all about. He's playing, and he was able to get a solid 45 yards with a touchdown at about 4.5 yards a clip. And that's pretty good for a guy who is as banged up as he is, and again, with an offensive line that's as banged up as it is. So I'm over the moon. I had tears of joy after the game, and this will be. I mean, I was born in 1982. Obviously, Notre Dame won in 1988, and I was alive, but I was 6 years old, and I wasn't a fan of anything yet. I was 6, and I didn't become a sports fan of Notre Dame until 1990, and then started actually paying attention to the games in that 1993 season. So since that 1993 season, we have played for one national championship. One. And now we're about to play for a second. I couldn't be happier. Like I said, I'm taking a little bit of credit for this podcast, even though there's only 30 of you watching. But I'm taking some credit. And I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going forward. Notre Dame's going forward. Onward, her loyal sons. Go Irish. Big win. Before I go, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell. It helps the channel out a lot. After big wins like this, share this with your friends. If you're new to this podcast, listen. I am that guy, okay, that sits next to you while watching the game. Okay, I'm just a fan. I'm not an insider, and I report on how I feel and what I think. And in all honesty, I'm going to tell you if they stink. I'm going to tell you if they're good. And I will not try. I will do my best not to give you a homer view. So that's what this podcast is going to be is about. And my sole motivation, my only motivation, is to be a little part in holding Notre Dame accountable to get them back to winning a national championship. And now we're about to play for one. Go Irish. Now I'm done.